I actually do keep the handicap golf records of most people that I play with.
So actually I'm very competitive.
It's true. Well, I count myself as one of those who saw probably the most changes in the world in a single generation. First 10, 11 years of my life, I grew up in a village with a few Chinese families and many Malay friends and families, and there was no running water or electricity. The second 11 years of my life, I went to school, and then 40 years of career. The second thing about myself, perhaps linked to the humble beginnings, is that I'm a person of very simple taste. You would not see me in a fancy car because my wife would just say no. And the third thing is I like to be part of doing good, whether it's in the enterprise, through the family, friends, or in church. And finally, not the least, I would say it's a blessing to be already a grandfather of 4 grandkids. Aged between 1 and 4, they are a real joy in my life. I actually do keep the handicap golf records of most people that I play with. And it helps me to sort of maintain a sense of how I'm performing relative to my peers.
So actually I'm very competitive.
It's true. I think, as with everything that we do, whether in business or in life, I think people should be conscious of having an outcome. I like to have fun as well. We were faced in the last 12 years with the turbulence within the maritime industry itself, shipping lines, over-investing, creating overcapacity, and a long period of underperformance financially. And then in the middle of the last decade, IR 4.0, the advent of digital disruption, and then further on COVID, as well as this now anxiety about climate change. So, I mean, the world is not short of things that cause us to rethink. Now, the challenge is how to not see these as threats but as opportunities. So, in PSA, we had to consolidate our strengths, train our people well, and then after that, forge forward. Operating a global business means that we were first sensitized to it when COVID started in China. So I think we were one step ahead in trying to formulate business-ready responses throughout all the ports within our group. But when it comes to the country, it was beyond the port. It was helping to keep the healthcare system resilient instead of being overwhelmed by infection. I found myself being called to lend a hand. On the one hand, to build quarantine and recovery facilities. At one time, I think in total we had about 18 to 20,000 additional beds. Secondly, food security, because trade was being disrupted, mobility was a big issue. PSA suddenly found itself as one of the key storehouses of refrigerated goods, and we had to build new racks and refrigeration capacity. I think the public and private sector leaders were never closer together in sharing a common goal, in aggregating our mutual concerns, and addressing the things that perhaps we took our time with before COVID, and realizing then there were weaknesses that we had to deal with. Digitalization was not going to wait for us. It suddenly took a leap during COVID, and are we ready? Are we good enough? Are we ready for the digital economy, as it were? So there are many things to deal with. I'll be speaking about trade and supply chain. I will start by unpacking how we got here in terms of global trade, how it has led to the emergence of developed countries, and then what it means to developing countries, and how Singapore itself has risen as a result of our participation in global trade. In the second lecture, I will go further into the viability and the future of maritime shipping. The third lecture will address what is the future of trade. If there is a prospect of Donald Trump coming back into the White House, would that have a repeat of the trade war? technology, can it play a positive role, or is it actually interrupting healthy trade as we know it? Certainly, as someone who is from a corporate background and different from the other SR Nathan fellows who has spoken before me, I think it's a positive step off the beaten track, because there are many dimensions to development of a country's nationhood, economy and future status and standing in the world.